Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The persistent buzz shattered the tranquility of the early hour. Woken from a deep slumber, a tired hand reached out, groping in the darkness to find the source of the disturbance.
Yes.
A quiet, gravelly voice answered, thick with drowsiness. Danny, I'm so glad I reached you. The anxious caller's words were rushed, filled with urgency. I'm in a dire situation, a genuine crisis, and only you can help me. Still entangled in the warmth of his bed, Danny rubbed his eyes, his mind slowly clearing the fog of sleep. Glancing at the clock, he muttered, 7:30. A strange time for such a dramatic call. What could possibly be so urgent? My grandmother's 80th birthday party is tonight. Danny flopped back against his pillows.
That's your emergency? Call me back at noon. Wait! Don't hang up!
Robert's voice pitched higher.
My entire family will be there. All of them. And they won't stop asking why I'm still single. So, tell them you're focusing on your career.
I did that last Christmas, and at Easter, and at my cousin's wedding. Robert sighed heavily. I might have told them I'm bringing my girlfriend tonight. Danny's eyes snapped open. Your what? My girlfriend, the one I've been dating for 6 months. Her name is Joanna.
Who the hell is Joanna?
That's the thing, Robert said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. She doesn't exist. Sitting up again, Danny pinched the bridge of his nose. Let me get this straight. You invented a girlfriend, and now your family expects to meet her at your grandmother's birthday? Yes, and I need you to be her. The request hung in the air for several seconds before Danny burst out laughing. You've lost your mind. Please, Danny. I'm desperate. You know how traditional my family is. They think there's something wrong with me because I'm 30 and still single. And you think showing up with me in a dress is going to help that situation? You're the only person I can ask. You're my best friend, and you've got that slim build. With the right clothes and makeup? Absolutely not. Danny cut him off. Ask one of your female friends. I don't have any who would do this. Come on, it's just for one night. 5 hours tops. No. I'll pay your rent next month. Danny hesitated. His freelance graphic design work had been slow lately, and his bank account was feeling the strain. 2 months. 1 month and I'll throw in dinner for the next 3 weeks. Silence stretched between them. Fine, Danny finally said. But if anyone finds out about this, I'll never forgive you. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. Robert's relief was palpable. Be at my place by 3. I've got everything we need. Everything we need? My cousin Melissa is about your size. I borrowed some things from her. Danny closed his eyes. I'm already regretting this. Standing in Robert's living room, Danny stared at the items laid out on the couch. A soft pink floral sundress, a natural-looking blonde wig, a makeup bag, a pair of nude flats. I feel like I'm in a bad comedy movie, Danny muttered, picking up the sundress. The fabric was light and silky between his fingers. Trust me, with your face structure,
you'll look convincing.
Robert was practically buzzing with nervous energy.
My cousin Melissa helped me pick everything out. She thinks I'm surprising my real girlfriend with a makeover. Your level of commitment to this lie is concerning.
Danny held the dress up against himself.
How do you know this will even fit me?
I may have checked the size of some of your shirts when I was at your apartment last week.
Invasion of privacy. Add it to the list of reasons I should walk out right now.
Please don't. Robert's voice turned serious.
I know this is weird, but my grandmother hasn't been doing well. This might be her last birthday, and I just want it to be perfect. No family drama, no interrogations about my love life.
Danny sighed. Robert had been his best friend since college. They'd been through breakups, job losses, and family crises together. If wearing a dress for one night would help him, maybe it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
Fine, but you owe me far more than rent and dinner.
3 hours later, Danny stood in front of the full-length mirror in Robert's bedroom, barely recognizing himself. The sundress fit surprisingly well, cinching slightly at the waist and flowing over his hips. The blonde wig framed his face with soft waves, completely transforming his appearance. Robert's cousin had included detailed makeup instructions, and after several attempts, Danny had managed a subtle but effective look, foundation to soften his features, mascara to emphasize his naturally long lashes, and a touch of pink lipstick.
I look amazing, Robert finished, standing in the doorway. Seriously, Danny, you look like a completely different person. Running his hands down the soft fabric of the dress, Danny felt a strange flutter in his stomach. This is weird, right? That I don't look completely ridiculous? Not weird. Lucky for me. Robert stepped into the room, handing Danny a small purse that matched the flats. I put some lipstick and other girly things in there. You know, for authenticity. Danny accepted the purse, slinging it over his shoulder with a surprisingly natural movement. So, what's our story? How did Joanna and you meet? Coffee shop. You spilled your drink on my laptop, felt terrible, and offered to buy me dinner to make up for it. Robert adjusted his tie in the mirror beside Danny. We've been together for 6 months. You're a graphic designer. Keep it close to the truth so you don't slip up. And my last name? Miller. Joanna Miller. Danny practiced a smile in the mirror, surprised at how different his face looked with the subtle makeup. Joanna Miller. Coffee shop klutz. Graphic designer. He took a deep breath. Let's get this over with. The Thompson family home buzzed with activity as Robert guided Danny, now fully embodying Joanna, through the front door. The floral sundress swished pleasantly against his legs, and he found himself surprisingly comfortable in the flat shoes. The weight of the wig felt foreign, but not unpleasant. Remember, my grandmother has hearing aids but refuses to admit it, Robert whispered. Speak up when you talk to her. Got it, Danny replied, intentionally raising the pitch of his voice slightly. They'd practiced in the car, finding a register that sounded feminine without being cartoonish. A middle-aged woman with Robert's eyes spotted them and hurried over. Robbie! You made it! She embraced him, then turned expectantly to Danny. And this must be Joanna. We've heard so much about you, dear. Danny offered his hand, remembering at the last second to soften his grip. It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Thompson. Robert talks about his family all the time. Call me Catherine, please. She pulled Danny into an unexpected hug. The warm, maternal embrace felt different from any hug he'd received before, gentler, with an assumption of delicacy that men rarely experienced. Come meet everyone. They're dying to meet the woman who finally captured our Robert's heart. As Catherine led them through the house, Danny was acutely aware of the different way people looked at him.
Men stepped aside politely, making room in the crowded space. Women smiled welcomingly, immediately including him in their circle. No one slapped his back or punched his arm in greeting. Instead, there were gentle touches on his elbow, warm handshakes, and genuine interest in what he had to say. The grandmother of honor sat in a floral armchair in the living room, a small crown perched on her silver hair. When Robert introduced Joanna, her face lit up. "Finally!" she exclaimed, grasping Danny's hands in her wrinkled ones. "I was beginning to think my grandson was making you up. Sit. Tell me everything about yourself." Danny perched carefully on the ottoman beside her chair, mindful of how he sat in the dress. "There's not much to tell, Mrs. Thompson. I'm a graphic designer. I met Robert when I accidentally spilled coffee all over his laptop." "Clumsy," she said, with an approving nod. "That's good. Perfect people are boring. You're very pretty, dear. Those cheekbones, and your hair is lovely." She reached out to touch Danny's wig. "Such a beautiful blonde color." "Thank you," Danny said, touched by the compliment despite himself. "Your grandson speaks very highly of you." "As he should. I taught him everything he knows about manners." She patted Danny's hand. "You hold on to this one, Robert. I can tell she's got a good heart." Throughout the evening, Danny settled more deeply into the role of Joanna. He found himself adopting small, feminine mannerisms without conscious thought, crossing his legs at the knee, tucking his hair behind his ear, cradling his drink with both hands. The soft fabric of the dress against his skin felt surprisingly pleasant, and he enjoyed the freedom of movement it allowed. During dinner, Robert's uncle asked what had attracted Joanna to Robert. Without missing a beat, Danny smiled and said, "His kindness. The day we met, he was so understanding about his ruined laptop. He didn't yell or make me feel worse than I already did. He just helped me clean up the mess and made a joke about it." He glanced at Robert with genuine affection. "That's when I knew he was special." Robert looked momentarily startled, then reached over to squeeze Danny's hand.
"I knew you were special when you insisted on helping me recover my files. You stayed at that coffee shop with me for 3 hours.
The family collectively sighed at the romantic story, and Danny felt a strange flutter in his chest. For a moment, the boundary between performance and reality blurred. The soft dress, the gentle treatment from everyone around him, the way Robert looked at him with manufactured adoration. It all felt surprisingly comfortable. After cake was served, Robert's female cousins pulled Joanna aside for girl talk. Instead of feeling panicked, Danny found himself enjoying their conversation. They complimented his dress, asked about his skincare routine, and shared family gossip he'd never be privy to as Danny. There was an easy intimacy to female friendship that he'd never experienced before. "You and Robert make such a cute couple," Melissa, the cousin who'd unwittingly provided the outfit, said. "And I'm so glad my dress fits you perfectly. Pink is definitely your color." "Thank you," Danny replied, smoothing the fabric over his knee. "It's a beautiful dress. I feel so pretty in it." The words slipped out before he could consider them, but they felt unexpectedly true. By the time they said their goodbyes, Danny had hugged more people in one night than he had in the past year. The familial warmth and acceptance wrapped around him like a comfortable blanket. In the car on the way home, Robert couldn't stop grinning. "That was perfect! They completely bought it! You were amazing, Danny! Seriously!" Danny stared out the window, watching streetlights blur past. "It was nice. Your family is really great." They loved you. My grandmother kept asking when I was going to propose. Robert laughed, then glanced over.
You okay? You're quiet.
I'm fine. Danny touched the blonde wig, adjusting a strand that had fallen over his eye. Just tired. It's exhausting being someone else all night. But as they drove in silence, Danny realized that wasn't entirely true. Being Joanna hadn't felt like being someone else. It had felt like discovering a part of himself he never knew existed. A part that enjoyed the soft swish of a dress, the gentle treatment from others, the freedom to express emotions without restraint. When Robert dropped him off at his apartment, Danny carefully gathered the borrowed items. You can keep the dress, Robert said. Melissa has plenty, and it looks better on you anyway. Danny should have laughed it off, should have refused. Instead, he found himself nodding.
Thanks for,
everything. Inside his apartment, instead of immediately changing, Danny stood before his own mirror. The person looking back at him in the pink floral sundress and blonde wig didn't feel like a stranger. Something about this reflection felt right in a way he couldn't articulate. He carefully removed the wig, placing it on his dresser. Next came the dress, which he hung properly in his closet instead of tossing into the return pile as he'd planned. The makeup he removed with gentle strokes, following the instructions Melissa had included. But as he pulled on his usual t-shirt and sweatpants, he felt a sense of loss. The soft fabric of the dress against his skin, the way the skirt moved when he walked, the gentle treatment he'd received all evening. He missed it already.
It was just for one night,
he told his reflection firmly.
Just a favor for a friend.
But as he fell asleep, his thoughts kept returning to how it felt to be Joanna. Over the next few weeks, Danny found himself thinking about that night frequently. He'd be working on a design project and catch himself wondering how the soft pink color palette would look as a blouse. While shopping for groceries, he'd find himself pausing near the women's section of the store, eyeing the flowing fabrics and bright colors. One evening, after a particularly stressful day, he opened his closet and stared at the pink floral sundress hanging there. Before he could talk himself out of it, he took it off the hanger and slipped it on. The familiar soft fabric settled against his skin, and something inside him seemed to sigh with relief. Without the wig and makeup, his reflection was a strange hybrid, masculine features above, feminine dress below. But even this incomplete transformation felt somehow right. The next day, he opened an incognito browser and hesitantly typed, "Men who enjoy wearing women's clothes." The results were educational, offering terminology and perspectives he'd never considered. Crossdresser, gender expression, transgender. Each term opened new paths of understanding, new possibilities for explaining the feelings stirring inside him. A week later, a package arrived at his door. Inside were items he'd ordered late one night: a simple black skirt, a pink blouse, a pair of strappy heels that he'd carefully measured to ensure they'd fit, and a new blonde wig, similar to the one he'd worn at the party but slightly longer, with gentle waves that framed his face. That evening, he tried everything on together. The blouse hugged his chest in a way that suggested curves he didn't have. The skirt fell to just above his knees, showing legs he'd impulsively shaved the night before. The heels were challenging, but made his posture more feminine, his movements more deliberate. With trembling hands, he applied the makeup he'd purchased, following online tutorials. Foundation to soften his features, contouring to slim his nose and emphasize his cheekbones, mascara to darken his already long lashes, a rose-colored lipstick to complete the look. The blonde wig was the final piece. As he adjusted it on his head, the person in the mirror transformed. No longer a man in women's clothes, but someone new. Someone who made more sense to him than the reflection he'd seen his entire life.
Joanna,
he whispered to his reflection, the name feeling right on his lips. He practiced walking in the heels, enjoying the subtle sway they added to his hips. He tried different ways of sitting, speaking, gesturing, not in mocking imitation of femininity, but in exploration of what felt natural. Over the next months, Danny's apartment became a sanctuary where Joanna could exist freely. He expanded her wardrobe with carefully chosen pieces, another pink blouse that brought out the warmth in his complexion, a pencil skirt that created the illusion of curves, comfortable yet feminine flats for days when heels felt too challenging. At work, he remained Danny, the quiet graphic designer who kept to himself. But evenings and weekends belonged to Joanna. She practiced makeup techniques until they became second nature. She learned to style the blonde wig in different ways, pulled back for a sophisticated look, loose for casual days. She began to feel more like the authentic version of himself than Danny ever had. 3 months after the birthday party, Robert called again.
I need another favor,
he said without preamble. Danny sighed, setting aside the sketch he'd been working on. What now? My cousin Melissa is getting married next weekend. Congratulations to her. And I told my family that Joanna would be my +1. Danny's heart skipped. You what? They keep asking about you. My grandmother shows your picture to everyone at her nursing home. They all think we're still together. So, tell them we broke up. I can't. Robert's voice dropped. My grandmother's health has been declining. The doctors say... He paused. She might not have much time left, and she's so happy thinking I found someone. Please, Danny, just one more time. Danny looked toward his bedroom, where Joanna's clothes hung in the closet. The blonde wig sat on a stand by his dresser. The makeup bag contained products he now knew how to use with skill. Okay, he said, surprised by the flutter of excitement in his stomach. What should I wear? Something formal. It's an evening wedding. After hanging up, Danny went to his closet and assessed Joanna's wardrobe. Nothing seemed appropriate for a formal wedding. This would require shopping, real shopping, not just online ordering. The thought made his palms sweat, but a deeper part of him thrilled at the challenge. After all, Joanna had become much more than a one-time disguise. She had become a part of him that felt increasingly essential. The following day, Danny gathered his courage and entered a boutique across town where no one would know him. The sales associate, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, approached as he browsed the dresses. Can I help you find something? She asked. Danny swallowed hard. I need a dress for a wedding. Something formal but not too flashy. If the woman found his request strange, she didn't show it. Of course. What size are you looking for? He gave his measurements, which he now knew precisely. She nodded and led him to a rack of dresses in soft, flattering colors. Are you attending as a guest or part of the wedding party? She asked conversationally. A guest. My boyfriend's cousin is getting married. The words felt dangerous and thrilling as they left his mouth. The sales associate simply nodded and selected a knee-length emerald green dress with a modest neckline and flowing skirt. This would look lovely with your coloring, she said. Would you like to try it on? Danny hesitated. I don't know if that's... She seemed to understand his discomfort. No pressure. The changing rooms are private, and I'm happy to bring different sizes or styles if needed. We want all our customers to feel comfortable and beautiful. The simple kindness in her voice made something in Danny's chest ache. Thank you. I'd like to try it. In the privacy of the changing room, he slipped the green dress over his head. The material whispered against his skin as it fell into place. Looking in the mirror, he could see how the dress would work with the right undergarments to create a feminine silhouette. The color made his eyes look greener than usual and would complement the blonde wig perfectly.
How's it going in there?
The sales associate called gently. Good, he replied. I think this is the one. Would you like to show me? Sometimes a second opinion helps. After a moment's hesitation, Danny opened the changing room door. The woman smiled approvingly. It's perfect on you. We have some lovely accessories that would complement it beautifully. By the time Danny left the boutique, he had purchased not only the emerald green dress, but also nude heels, a delicate silver necklace, and a matching clutch. The sales associate had wrapped everything carefully, treating his purchases with the same respect she would give any customer. I hope you have a wonderful time at the wedding, she said as he left, her smile genuine. On the day of the wedding, Danny spent hours preparing. He shaved meticulously, applied a light foundation, and styled the blonde wig in an elegant updo that revealed the silver necklace. The emerald dress fit perfectly with the shapewear he'd purchased, creating subtle curves. The heels elongated his legs and improved his posture. When Robert arrived to pick him up, he stopped short in the doorway.
Wow, you look amazing. Seriously, I almost didn't recognize you.
Danny smoothed the skirt of his dress, a flutter of pride warming his chest.
Thank you. Is it appropriate for the wedding? More than appropriate. You might upstage the bride.
Robert offered his arm.
Shall we, Joanna?
The name sent a thrill through Danny. Being called Joanna felt increasingly right, like coming home to a place he'd always belonged. The wedding venue was elegant, a historic mansion with gardens where the ceremony took place. As Robert's date, Danny, or rather Joanna, was seated with the family. Robert's grandmother spotted them immediately, her face lighting up. Joanna, come sit by me, dear. She patted the chair beside her. I was telling everyone you'd be here. You look beautiful. Green is your color. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson, Danny replied, carefully arranging the skirt of his dress as he sat. It's lovely to see you again. Call me Grandma Rose. All the family does. She patted his hand. I'm so glad you and Robert are still together. He needs someone like you. Throughout the ceremony, Danny found himself touched by the vows, the promises of acceptance and love. Robert's hand rested comfortably on his, a gesture that felt both strange and natural. At the reception, Robert's family welcomed Joanna with open arms. They remembered details from their conversations at the birthday party months ago, asked about her graphic design work, included her in family photos. Dance with me? Robert asked as the band started playing a slow song. On the dance floor, with Robert's hand respectfully at his waist, Danny felt a profound sense of rightness. The emerald dress swirled around his legs as they moved. Other couples smiled at them appreciatively. No one looked twice at Joanna. They simply saw a beautiful woman dancing with her boyfriend. You're a natural at this, Robert murmured. If I didn't know better, I'd never guess. Danny rested his head briefly on Robert's shoulder, an unexpectedly intimate gesture.
It doesn't feel like pretending anymore,
he admitted quietly. Robert pulled back slightly to look at him. What do you mean? Before Danny could respond, Robert's grandmother approached. May I cut in? I want to dance with the future of the family. Robert surrendered his position with a smile. She's all yours, Grandma. Dancing carefully with the elderly woman, Danny felt a surge of affection for this family that had so readily accepted Joanna. They moved slowly, mindful of her frailty. You know, she said, her voice surprisingly strong. I've never seen my grandson as happy as he is with you. You bring out something in him that was missing before. He's a wonderful man, Danny replied truthfully, and you're good for him. Promise me you'll take care of each other. The sincerity in her eyes made Danny's throat tight with emotion. I promise, he said, meaning it more deeply than he expected. Later, as they prepared to leave, Robert's grandmother pressed something into Danny's hand. Opening his palm, he saw a delicate silver bracelet with a small emerald charm. It matches your dress, she said. I want you to have it. It was mine when I was your age. I can't accept this, Danny protested gently. It's a family heirloom. And your family now. She closed his fingers around the bracelet. Or you will be soon, if my grandson has any sense. The drive back to Danny's apartment was quiet, both of them lost in thought. The bracelet felt warm against his wrist, a tangible connection to a family that knew only Joanna, not Danny. At his door, Robert hesitated. Did you mean what you said earlier, about it not feeling like pretending? Danny touched the silver bracelet, then looked up at his friend. I did. Being Joanna, it feels right in a way I can't explain. When I'm dressed like this, wearing the blonde wig, being treated as a woman, it's like I'm finally myself. Robert was quiet for a moment, processing. So, you're saying you're... I don't know exactly what I'm saying. Danny smiled sadly. I'm still figuring it out, but I know that Joanna isn't just a character I'm playing for your family. She's becoming who I really am. Wow. Robert ran a hand through his hair. I wasn't expecting that. Neither was I. Danny unlocked his door. Thank you for tonight. For everything, really. You gave me the push I needed without even knowing it. Robert nodded slowly. So, what happens now? I'm not sure, Danny admitted. But I think Joanna might be ready to exist outside these family events. To become real. After Robert left, Danny carefully removed the emerald dress and hung it in his closet, which now contained more of Joanna's clothes than his own. He placed the blonde wig on its stand, gently brushing through the soft waves. The makeup came off, revealing the face he'd known all his life. But now, it felt like a mask over his true self. The following week, Danny researched gender identity specialists and made an appointment. The conversation was illuminating, offering language and understanding for feelings he'd struggled to articulate. The therapist listened without judgment as he explained about Joanna, about the sense of rightness he felt when presenting as female. What you're describing is consistent with gender dysphoria, the therapist explained. Many transgender individuals report similar experiences, a disconnect between their assigned gender and their true gender identity. Transgender, Danny repeated, testing the word. It felt both frightening and right. This is the beginning of a journey, the therapist continued. For some people, social transition, changing name, pronouns, dress, is enough. Others may choose medical interventions like hormone therapy. There's no single correct path. As winter turned to spring, Danny, increasingly thinking of herself as Joanna, began taking small steps toward living authentically. She grew out her natural hair, letting it frame her face in a style that could read as either a fashionable men's cut or a short women's style. She incorporated subtle feminine elements into her daily wardrobe. A pink button-down shirt, slim-fitting jeans, shoes that could be read as unisex, but leaned feminine. At home, she fully embraced her identity as Joanna, wearing the clothes that made her feel complete. The blonde wig became a constant companion during these private moments, a symbol of her emerging true self. In May, Robert called again. My parents' anniversary party is next weekend. They specifically asked if you would come. Joanna smiled at the phone. As your girlfriend Joanna or as your friend Danny? As whoever you want to be, Robert replied softly. They miss you, either way. The party presented an opportunity and a challenge. It would be the first time Joanna would appear in public outside of family events, a test run for the life she increasingly wanted to live. She chose her outfit carefully, a light blue sundress that complemented her blonde wig, white sandals with a modest heel, and the silver bracelet Robert's grandmother had given her. Her makeup was subtle but skillful, enhancing her natural features without looking overdone. As they approached the Thompson home, Robert squeezed her hand. You okay? Nervous? She admitted, but good nervous. Ready. The family welcomed her with warm hugs and genuine smiles. Robert's grandmother hobbled over with her walker, beaming at the sight of them. Joanna, you look beautiful, dear. That blonde hair of yours catches the light so nicely. Thank you, Grandma Rose. The words came naturally now, the relationship feeling increasingly authentic. Throughout the evening, Joanna moved with growing confidence. This wasn't a performance anymore. It was simply her being herself. When Robert's mother commented on how lovely her dress was, Joanna happily told her where she'd purchased it. When his father asked about her graphic design business, she spoke passionately about her recent projects. After cake, Robert found her sitting alone on the porch swing.
You seem happy,
he observed, joining her. I am. She smoothed the blue fabric of her dress. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm not pretending. I'm glad. He hesitated. So what happens with us? With this whole girlfriend charade? Joanna looked out at the garden, considering. It doesn't have to be a charade, you know. Not the relationship part. We're just friends. But Joanna isn't a charade. She's who I am. Who I've always been, I think, without knowing it. Robert nodded slowly. I think I understand. And for what it's worth, I like Joanna. She seems more alive than Danny ever did. She feels more alive. Joanna turned to face him. I want to transition, Robert. Not just for these family events, but for real. I want to live as Joanna all the time. That's a big step. The biggest. And I'm terrified. She touched the bracelet on her wrist. But I'm more terrified of going back to pretending to be someone I'm not. Robert was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled and squeezed her hand. Well, whatever you decide, your family will support you, because that's what we are now, you know. Family. The word settled around her like a warm embrace. Family. Acceptance. Belonging. 6 months later, Joanna stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, barely recognizing the person she had once been. Her natural hair had grown out into a stylish bob that she kept dyed blonde to match the color of the wig she no longer needed. Hormone therapy had begun to soften her features and create subtle curves that her favorite pink blouses and pencil skirts now accentuated. The apartment looked different too, brighter, with flowers on the coffee table and soft throw pillows on the couch. Evidence of Joanna's life was everywhere, from the cosmetics arranged neatly on the vanity to the dresses hanging in the closet where Danny's clothes had once been. Her phone buzzed with a text from Robert. "Dinner at 7. Grandma Rose is in town and insists on seeing you." Joanna smiled, typing back a quick confirmation. The Thompsons had been surprisingly supportive when Robert had finally explained the truth, that the woman they knew as his girlfriend was actually his best friend, now living authentically as a woman. After the initial shock, they had embraced Joanna as the person they'd always known her to be. As she applied her makeup for the evening, a routine that had become second nature, Joanna reflected on the strange journey that had begun with a reluctant favor for a friend. In the final moments of this transformative journey, Joanna stepped out, ready to embrace her destiny. The hesitation and fragments of her past life had faded away like shadows retreating from the sun. She moved with grace, guided by her newfound confidence, as she walked towards the restaurant where a new chapter awaited. As Joanna walked, the memories of her previous life flashed before her eyes. She thought of the countless times she had hidden her true identity, rehearsed lines, and molded her true self into someone else's expectations. But tonight, as she strolled under the city's shimmering skyline, she knew it was different. Each step was a declaration of her authenticity, and she felt a profound sense of freedom. When Joanna arrived at the dinner venue, her heart raced, not from anxiety, but from the anticipation of a new beginning.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!